What's up, Blasianeers and Blasianettes? So, with 50 Shades Darker around the corner, I figure I'd go ahead and finally do this review for 50 Shades of Grey. So, with that all being said, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want me to fuck it up for you, just get on out of here and watch it for yourself. So, that is your warning. Now, I gotta say, I didn't know that this story or this book was an inspiration, or that Twilight was an inspiration to this book. I found that out like around the time the movie was about to be released in theaters, and I'm like, what? Why? I mean, there are some little winks to Twilight in there, like with, a socially awkward, girl and a wealthy guy, and they basically, gravitate towards each other, and she has a friend who's not so wealthy, and then he has a big crush on her, and the only difference is it doesn't become a love triangle at all. So it's just like a small nod to Twilight. So that's about it. But still, Edward Cullen and Christian Grey are totally two different people. Like, Edward Cullen is not a control freak, but a lot of people say that he is. But at least in the Twilight movies, no. Edward is a doormat. The only thing he forces Bella to do is to live a human life. He will not turn her into a vampire by any means. He always shuts down her request to be turned into a vampire. That's it. Like any other time, it's basically Bella nagging him to change her, like, change me, change me, change me, and then he's like, marry me, change me, and he says no, whatever. But here's a good example, like in the Twilight Saga Eclipse, where Jacob finds out that Bella's gonna marry Edward. Jacob's about to throw a fit, about to storm off, and Bella goes after him, but Edward stops her for a split second, and then she just goes like, "Don't," and then he lets her go. Like, now, if Edward was really that much of a control freak, he would have been like, "What? Did you just backtalk me? Get your ass back in that tent. You don't talk to me like that. No, you let Jacob go, whatever." But nope, he just stood there and let those two make out. And then he heard Jacob's thoughts, so he just stood there and let it happen. Yeah. I guess that does make him a control freak. Okay. Christian Grey, however, is a major douchebaggery control freak. He's like when Anastasia calls him, all drunk and shit, and then he's like, "Where are you at? Stop drinking. Are you drinking?" And continually shows up unannounced, unwelcome, everywhere she goes. Shows up at her job out of nowhere, and makes plans with her girlfriends, and then he just shows up in her house, unannounced, without even, saying, "Yeah, I'm coming over," or whatever. No, he just shows up. and when she graduates and he meets her dad, right in front of her dad, he is being a control freak with her. Like, when the photographer walks up to him and say, "Hey, Mr. Gray, can I take your picture?" And then he just pulls her into, in for the picture with him, right in front of her dad. Like, what? He's really bad at first impressions. No dude in his right mind is gonna let some guy just do that with their daughter. No. You just don't do that. What the hell? Any guy in his right mind would be like, he would just go off. He would be pissed about about some guy, touching their daughter like that. I mean, like, honestly, and he was, it didn't bother him. And another thing is, like, they have zero chemistry, and they weren't even a couple in this movie. Not to me, anyway. They were more like fuck buddies, with preferences. Like, okay, this is how we're gonna, this is how we're gonna do this. This is how we're gonna do that. And with the contract, and when I did try reading the book, and it got to the contract, and I just had to put the book down. I was just too busy laughing to be like, I want to know what happens and what happens. I just said, no, I can't read anymore. I cannot read anymore. I just couldn't do it. And, like, thinking back on that movie, I'm like, I don't see why women want this guy so. Why do women want this guy so badly? I mean, almost, like, okay. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, so let's say you want Christian Grey, you want a guy like Christian Grey. So you mean to say that a guy can show up unannounced, like when you make plans with your friends or whatever, he'll just show up and see you anytime he wants without even, calling to see what you're doing first or anything like that. Just show up and just walk into your house and then just be at your house waiting for you, like just like that, and just, oh man, and just basically telling you not to drink and whatnot and all that stuff and whatever, and not like you need to eat and eat when he tells you to eat and all that stuff. I mean, is that the kind of guy you really want to be with? Everyone has their kinks and all that, but this is just overkill, over the line. And with its reputation, you figured this movie would have some rated NC-17 action going on in there, but no, it's a rated R movie with, I don't know, with that sugar coated like rated R sex, and not like on Basic Instincts level, more like on a lower level, like where you would almost think that it's PG-13, even though you see titties and all that shit. But still, it felt like some PG-13 sex. So, but even though I did not read the books, and I'm not going to, I figured, okay, so there's gonna be some really monstrous sex in there, but they kept that out of the movie if that's what happened in the book. And then when it got to the end, like where Anastasia, one of the very few times where she is standing up for herself, but she hardly does that in the movie, but around the time where she basically gives Christian the permission to do something or whatever, to do one of his his little kinks or whatever, and then she doesn't like it, and then she goes off on him like, don't fucking touch me. I'm like, what? You just gave him permission to do it. So what she should have said was, you know what, that was on me. I said you could do it, but I didn't like that. I didn't like it, so we're not going to do it again. That's all she had to say. And then near the end of the movie, she's basically cutting him off cold turkey, like, it's done, I'm done with you, it's over, no. And then she gets in the elevator, as the elevator door shuts, he's like, Anastasia, and she's like, Christian. And then credits. Like, what? At least the alternate ending made more sense, where there's a montage of them, living their day-to-day lives, and they're clearly thinking about each other, and then that's how it is. They should have when I did rewatch the alternate ending, I'm like, they could have left that in there. It would have made more sense. But oh well. it's just like, like you see that she still is thinking about him, like where, how you have a bad habit and like, let's say like, and then you're saying, I'm not going to eat any more fast food, I'm not going to drink any more alcohol, or I'm not going to smoke any more cigarettes, or whatever. I mean, that's what she's basically doing with Christian, where it's like, nope, I'm done with you. And then that withdrawal, it looks like she's having that little withdrawal, like where she's like, where she can't seem to get him out of her mind, and vice versa with Christian. Like he's clearly thinking about her, but oh well, it is what it is. And also, this doesn't feel like much of a movie, really. It felt like an independent movie in a way, because all the supporting characters outside of Anastasia and Christian were irrelevant. Nobody else was relevant in this movie. Like, you have like his brother there for a second, and then like, okay, and then his mom is there for a minute, and then boop, gone. And then Anastasia's dad is there for a minute, like, okay, boop, out of the picture. We gotta focus more on Anastasia and Christian. I dare say that Twilight was not like that. I mean, like, the supporting characters had a little bit more relevance to the story than they do in 50 Shades of Grey. That just is my opinion. I'm sorry if you enjoyed the movie and I pissed you off, but that's just how I feel about the movie. So with that all being said, this gets 2.5 chair spins out of 5. 1, 2.5 chair spins. Very underwhelming chair spins. So, but I will say this though, 50 Shades Darker does look like it will be a much better movie, and I am counting on it. And if it's not, I'm just gonna make fun of it. That's simple. So it's win-win for me. But so and then we get to see this woman that sort of, that is from Christian's past that they mentioned in the first movie, but we get to see her in the second movie. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. The hype is just so unreal. I mean, like, I'm just like, people are ridiculously overly hyped for, these books to become movies. I gotta see what all the hype is about. It was all curiosity. I wasn't there like, oh yeah, I can't wait for 50 Shades of Grey. It's like, I'm like, where it's like, really? What's the fuss all about? I was the same way with Hunger Games, where the first movie was on its way to being out, and everybody's all hyped up. I'm like, I gotta see what this movie's about. People are really hyped about it. I gotta see what is all the fuss. So, and that's what I did with this movie. And it's ridiculous. I know there's some women out there who want a guy like Christian Grey, but I would imagine that most of you don't want that. Most of you women do not want that kind of guy who's that extreme, who has that much control over your life. I don't know. I don't see how that can turn you on. If it does, okay, that's your business. But I just don't see that. It's totally beyond me. But that, like, again, that is totally your business. Your business. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed if you okay, words, thoughts, okay, brain intact. If you guys enjoyed my review on this movie, make sure you thumb up the video. Make sure you click subscribe if you're a newbie to the channel. Excuse my cold. I am on my way to recovery. So, as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. And I'll have my review for 50 Shades Darker this weekend, so keep on the lookout for that. Peace out, y'all.